Virginia. My name is Stephanie Rinaldi. My pronouns are she, her. I live on the traditional lands of the Monacan people, and I am here in Buckingham, just about a mile from where there is some gold prospecting going on. I'm also co-chair of a committee that is working to ensure that a gold mine doesn't open here. And I will be your MC this evening. So we have some really great information for you, and we've got some exciting news as well to share and a special guest, so make sure you stick around for that. And before we get started, I just want to note that, again, this webinar is being recorded, so if you'd like to change the name that appears or turn off your camera, you can do so. You have all been muted, and you do have the capability to unmute yourselves, but we ask that you don't do that, just to keep everything running smoothly. Also, if you have any technical issues that we need to know about, you can pop those into the chat. And the chat is also where we will host the question and answer part of the evening. If you have questions throughout, please note them for yourselves and then add them when I call for questions so that they don't get lost in any of the messages that might come in before that. There is going to be a video portion of the evening. If for some reason you can't view that video, if it's lagging, try turning off your camera. That might help with some of the bandwidth. And if for some reason we find that as a whole we don't have good bandwidth, we may turn off everybody's cameras. And I apologize if that does have to happen. Let's see, what else do we have here? Right, I think that is everything before we get started. Okay, so we're going to begin the evening with a conversation between myself and one of my neighbors, Kayla Jamerson. But before we do that, I just want to give you a brief rundown of what has been happening here. Here in Buckingham, there is a Canadian prospecting company called Aston Bay, and they have been drilling, looking for gold, and finding gold for the last several years. And they've been doing this without the knowledge of anybody in the county, just the landowners. And those landowners are a timber company. They own tens of thousands of acres here in the county and across the state. This gold that they've been finding is in what's called the gold pyrite belt that goes from Northern Virginia all the way south of Richmond. So this is an issue that very well could affect the whole state. So I'm gonna chat with Kayla now about how it's affecting us here in Buckingham. And to start, Kayla, can you tell us about your family and about your history here in Buckingham? I think you're still muted.
Yes, I fixed it. Yes, I'm sorry. I was saying, I'm thanking everybody for being here tonight, and I'm very happy to share this information with you. I'm Kayla Jamerson, but my maiden name is Kayla Branch. My parents are Deborah and James Branch, and we've lived here all my life in Buckingham County. I grew up here. I'm now a teacher here, and I have two children of my own that I'm hoping to raise here. On the wall behind me, I actually decided to sit in my parents' foyer in their house because it has a wall of my family's history, and they've all lived here, actually right down the road where Stephanie lives now. That's where my dad grew up. So we've been here a very long time, and we really don't plan to leave or want to leave.
Yeah, I really love that connection that we have, that your family is from this area and lived here where I'm living now. So how far are you guys currently from where the prospecting is happening?
So I believe we're about a half mile or within a mile of where it's going to be. We can literally walk down to where they've been doing the core drilling if we wanted to. It might take maybe 15 minutes or so to walk back there. So it's almost like it's right in the backyard, or it's right there when you step out in your front porch. It's in our face.
And I know that we have, as a community, we've been kind of trolling the Aston Bay website, just trying to gather as much information as we can. Do you remember how deep these core samples are?
I don't remember the exact amount. I know that it was well over what I would think you would need to do if you were core drilling. I think someone else would have to help me out with that because I honestly do not remember the exact. I know that it was more, I believe it was more than 300 feet on some of them.
Yeah, I think what I had seen, and people
Yeah.
are nodding their heads, I think what I had seen said it was in meters. So I think it was 130 meters, so times 3,
Yeah.
over 300 feet.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
is that, I mean, it is something that we are worrying about. And can we talk about the things that we think might have already happened because of this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? There was a disruption.
Yeah, can we talk about the issues that we think have already happened because of the drilling that's been going on?
Yeah, so right here in our neighborhood and right down the road, actually I live across from the church, the Warminster Church, Baptist Church, that's been having some problems with their water the last few years. A couple of years ago, they had to replace their well. They had to redig the well and replace it entirely because their old well just was not getting any water. My parents, they have actually been having issues with their water. They have it's low, the water, if they wash one load of clothes, it's done. Nobody can take a shower, nobody can wash dishes or do anything. And that's not typical in a year that's been, or last couple of years that have been very wet. So that shouldn't be happening. And so our concern is that this core drilling has somehow interfered with the water table.
Right, and I know we don't have the knowledge to speak to that in terms of whether or not it's for sure because of this drilling, but we have spoken to some people who used to be in the mining industry, and they have told us that it certainly could be a result of the drilling, and so that's definitely something we're all really concerned about because we're all on well water out here. So now, do you think that this exploration could lead to a gold mine?
Oh, yes, definitely. The way that they've been discussing it, the language that they use, what Aston Bay was putting out in the media and on their website, and then it kind of magically disappeared one day when I went to go look for it again. It's definitely going to become a mine. And if they didn't, from the information that we've been given, it wouldn't be smart not to seek putting a mine here because of the amount of gold they've found. Because apparently it is a significant amount, even though the numbers don't look like that and the county claims that it's not. I think it would be silly not to think so.
And what are your concerns with that if the mine did open?
Well, my biggest concern is having to leave. I really don't feel safe living next door to a mine, especially with the types of chemicals that they use. That's more of a concern than I think I could, if it wasn't chemicals and I live next, and I listen to the trucks where they're cutting down trees and hauling off trees all the time, that doesn't bother me. That's annoying and a nuisance, but it doesn't last long. But if they put a mine on that property, then like I said, the chemicals become an issue. And I really don't want my kids growing up next to that. I don't want them having to deal with that. And my concern is not just for my family, it's for all the families here that have been here for generations that would have to leave. And of course, we have people who've moved here, who've newly purchased homes, have purchased land, and that's going to cause an issue for them as well. It's not right. And it wouldn't be fair to subject us to that.
Yeah, definitely.
And on top of that, sorry, I forgot. This actually, I was supposed to be building a house on a piece of land that I was inheriting, and I've completely shut that down because of this. I completely stopped it.
And that's something that I've heard from other neighbors too. Some people have told me, I was going to build an addition, or I was going to, put in this garden or what have you. And people aren't, because they're scared. They're worried that, if a mine opens here, as we'll hear in a little bit, the chances of us keeping our homes are really small.
Yeah.
So is there anything you'd like to say about what might ease those concerns?
I was thinking about that, and I really don't know what could ease my concerns, because as far as what I've seen with the county, they really don't seem like they have any plan to keep this from happening. We've already had such a big fight with the core drilling and everything else. I think if they were to not do it, or completely just say we're not going to allow this to happen, that would make me feel so much better. Really, that's the only thing that would do it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I can't think of any way that I've read about or heard about to mine gold safely. I mean, there's ways that they claim are better, but I just have not seen that brought out in actuality. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we move on?
No, I don't. Thank you so much for letting me come in here tonight and speak about this.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll keep our hopes up for you. All right.
Yeah.
So we actually have a film to share with you guys that has other Buckingham residents, and it will show you even more what is going on here, what we're experiencing, what our concerns are. And yeah, just the extent of what we're feeling here. So we'll go ahead and play that for you.
All right, folks, I'm going to play the video. If any of the other organizers could let me know if there's issues with viewing, that would help me. I have a backup. All right, here we go.
Allowing a gold mine here would put this part of Buckingham County at unnecessary high risk. Gold mines routinely destroy the surrounding land and poison the water.
My name is Charles. Hey, my name's Lily. Hey, my name's Cora.
I've been here all my life and I want to stay here. I don't want to have to leave. I want my kids to be able to grow up here and have the same life that I did in a peaceful, quiet, beautiful community.
My name's Denise Williams. I'm a physician. I've lived in the Buckingham County, Southern Albemarle area for 38 years, and I practiced medicine here for over 25. The pollution from gold mines includes many toxic chemicals such as mercury, cyanide, arsenic. These chemicals get into the soil, groundwater, streams, and rivers, not only right near the mine, but extending many miles beyond the mine. These chemicals get into the food chain through plants, fish, other animals, and eventually, unfortunately, to us. They can cause cancer, diseases of the brain, the liver, and the kidneys. But most concerning is the effect these elements have on pregnant women, their fetuses, and children whose brains are developing. These elements, especially arsenic, mercury, and lead, have been shown to cause low birth weight, birth defects, preterm birth, and neurologic developmental problems that can lead to low IQ and learning disabilities. These chemicals will stay around long after the mine closes and continue to cause disease.
We have well water here. Everybody in this area has well water. And the chemicals that they use causes acid mine runoff. It causes all of these chemicals to just pollute the groundwater, to pollute the streams and the rivers, and it makes it unlivable.
What's at stake here for you?
Specifically, our future. We purchased this property and came to this community to spend the rest of our lives here. We had some plans to start a small business. I raise bees And we were hoping to turn that into a business and to contribute to the community in that way. And all of that, everything is at stake.
We will have to vacate because this is underground water source. That's our only water. Water is life.
We grow medicinal herbs and hemp for health benefits. Water is one of the most important aspects of our farm. Water pollution by possible gold mining is one of the most damaging things that could happen to our farm. It'll all be destroyed.
Beyond the canine welcoming committees, it's a little farm owned by a former United States Marine who owns a strong sense of Buckingham County community responsibility.
And also they discovered another quartz outcropping with possible gold ore in it right next to my road over here, which is all on Weyerhaeuser land. So with it being so close, if they do open a mine, this entire area will be devastated.
Paul heard that the mining company was hoping to model its Buckingham open pit operation based on one outside Kershaw, South Carolina. So he drove down there to see how the mine was contributing to the local quality of life.
I went by the firehouse because I was trying to find something that the mine had actually contributed to the town. Because I was asking, well, have they built a new wing on the local school or anything? And everyone's like, no. So I saw the firehouse and it's like, okay, surely, because they're so close to the mine and they would be first responders, surely they got upgraded equipment from the mine because it would be in the mine's best interest. And the fire chief told me that the mine only provided them with a new laptop, only after they asked for it. And that was it.
Meanwhile, members of this historic black church expect nothing but trouble from the gold mine. In fact, they say they've had some already during the exploration stage.
My name is Mary Harper. I am one of the trustees here at Westminster Baptist Church. I am deeply concerned about the devastation of digging for gold. It's ruining our neighborhood. The water, wells drying up. Their forest is not going to be the same. The value of the property is going down. We don't need nobody digging for gold. This church has been here for 154 years. Not the building, but the Westminster Baptist Church. It was organized in 1866, and we do not want it destroyed.
Where would we go? If we was to be pushed off our land, where would we go? We have nowhere else to go. But this is our home, and this is where we want to remain. This is my father, Willie Perkins Sr. This is my mother, Dorothy Perkins. This is my grandmother, Miss Lena Perkins, and my uncle, my dad's brother, James Major Perkins. They lived here. And they died in Buckingham County. And we don't want our cemetery to be disturbed. If we move, what would happen? If we lost our land because of this gold mine, what would happen to our cemetery?
Toxic gold mining will threaten the land, homes, and cemeteries of our neighbors who are descended from slaves. Allowing yet another violation of this community would be nothing short of immoral. Racism.
These toxic infrastructures, they pick on the blacks, people of color, poor communities to want to build these infrastructures. Devastation.
It feels like another extension of racism, doesn't it?
It is. That is systemic. And we are just a small group of people that always getting pushed around or trying to get pushed because of our color of our skin, and we are not, accepting the way things are.
The Reverend Ernie Seaver Moore agrees with Deacon Perkins. Moore is the executive director of Yogaville, the global yoga teaching center in Buckingham County. Every year, before the pandemic, more than 7,000 students flocked to Yogaville. Yogaville is one of the largest employers of the county when there's no pandemic. It's about 1,000 acres, has 100 private homes, with more under construction. Yogaville strongly opposes the gold mine project.
Having a gold mine in a residential area is astounding. It's going to ruin the water table for all these hundreds of homes in this area, not just Yogaville, but all the wonderful neighbors all around that area. Then what are you going to do? You're going to have to pipe water here for millions. It's going to cost millions and millions of dollars to pipe water to all these homes out here. It's just not a good idea. Well, where they want to have this open pit gold mining is uphill. It's about, the elevation is up on top of this road on the end. We're down on the lower end here. We're about 150 feet elevation-wise lower than where the gold mining would happen. Well, as you see, the wells around here are about 200 feet deep on average. These pits are much deeper than that, and you're going to interact with all that. You're going to disturb the water aquifer. All these creeks, everything from that area drains downhill into the James River. So whether it be Sycamore Creek or these unnamed creeks and tributaries, they all drain into the James River. It's all going to get impacted by the tailings and all that's going to come out of this mine.
Hi, my name is Chad Oba. I am a co-founder and the president of Friends of Buckingham. I live here in the Union Hill neighborhood, about 5 miles from the gold exploration area. We share the same aquifer here, so if their water is poisoned by a gold mine, ours will be too. So we are sharing the same fate, and we've done this before, and we know how to fight. For almost 6 years, the little nonprofit organization we founded, Friends of Buckingham, helped organize the determined opposition to a multi-billion-dollar fracked gas pipeline project which threatened our health and safety. With our friends and allies in the climate and environmental justice movement, we surprised the big money interest and we won. Today, it's the gold mining people who think they're going to roll over us simple country folk. They're blowing smoke onto our local officials while telling them that it's sunshine. They're saying that their approach to mining would not hurt the environment. This is the same playbook of nonsense that we heard from the pipeline people. It is untrue and it is misleading. This is the same as it is with the gold mine. We will not stand by and allow them to devastate our land and poison our water while they and their investors get rich. This is a moral issue. It is a matter of sustaining life, of human rights. We will fight this. Please join us.
Okay, a special thanks to Jeff Kimmon, who produced and narrated that film for us. It will be available. We'll have a link for you and information on where to find that link at the end of tonight. So one organization that has done a lot of work educating people about the dangers of mining and doing research specifically related to the dangers of mining is Earthworks. And we have with us tonight Aaron Mensis, who is the Senior Policy Counsel for Earthworks in DC. And he's going to help us understand exactly what goes on at these open pit mines and various mining operations. So take it away, Aaron.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I really appreciate you in this time. My name is Aaron Mensis. I'm with Earthworks. I'm now occupying Piscataway territory, what we now call Baltimore. But I'm usually based in Washington, D.C., and Earthworks protects communities and the environment from the impacts of mineral development while pushing for sustainable solutions as well. And so we do a lot of work on hard rock mining and its impacts across the country. The one point I'd like to really make sure sticks here is that the problems associated with mining are modern problems. Modern mines cause modern problems. I'd like to credit my colleague, Bonnie Gestring, with just a couple of recent reports that I just wanted to drop in the chat box. I'm not going to talk a lot about them, but I'd like to just have them here so that they illustrate the broader point I'm trying to make. I wanted to start just with Montana, and we took a look at a bunch of gold mines in Montana. These are modern ones to decide, are they in fact, polluting the water? Are there seepage problems? Are there water contamination issues? And in almost every single one, these are modern mines under modern permits, and in almost every single case, what we see are pollution issues. And the same is true for Alaska mines, and the same is true for the copper mines we looked at too. And so this is usually a Western issue, hard rock mining. We don't see this a lot in the East. The Hale mine that was referenced in the video is one of the only open pit hard rock mines east of the Mississippi I'm aware of. And the reason for that is partly geology, but in a lot of cases, it has to do with water. A lot of the things that we heard Kayla mentioning. And the East is a lot wetter than the West. And one of the things that I'm hoping the Virginia legislature and then the Virginia government, particularly the Department of Environmental Quality, and then DMME, if I hope I get this right, the Department of Minerals and Mining and Energy or something, the mining regulator in the state will actually get right when if they do go forward with trying to permit a hard rock mining operation after this exploratory stuff is finished. Mainly because hard rock mining is different from coal. It's different from oil and gas, but it's especially different from coal because you're digging much deeper typically, and you're removing from the ground more and heavier metals. And those metals tend to, as we heard about in the video, leach acids that can pollute water resources. Yes, the actual process of processing ore and gold, the chemicals used in that can be damaging as well to the environment, which I think Kayla really was quite articulate about. Part of what really concerns me is what's going to happen with the waste. So when you look, so I'm going to just show you guys this. This is a gold wedding ring. To make one of these gold wedding rings, you typically have to have 20 tons of waste. Now in the West, there are big places where you can put some of this stuff, and you still have really strong regulations, not everywhere, to help actually manage it. But in the East, you have to deal with a lot of water issues. That will be the Clean Water Act, the 401 permit stuff that the Friends of Buckingham County and everyone else helped use when they defeated the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. The 404 permit that the Clean Water Act is going that the DEQ will have to issue that has to do with dredging and filling. Whenever you're digging a big mine, you're going to have to get that permit as well. But while I pause for a second, I want to emphasize that my biggest concern, though, is with the mining regulator, DMME. You dig these big holes in the ground, and you have to store the tailings or the waste somewhere. And I think what they'll have to do is build a big tailings dam or storage facility. I don't see any other way out of this, at least temporarily. And the rain will fall, storms will happen. And when the rain falls on top of these piles, that water trickles down and carries with it some of that acid mine drainage into the Sycamore Creek and into the James River. if I heard the hydrology right of this, I'm no hydrologist, but if I heard that video right, the mine's on top of the hill and the water's on the bottom of the hill, that's bad news for the water, for the hydrology of the area. Water goes downhill as much as I know about hydrology. My point is that when we're thinking about the DMME and what it's going to be permitting, we don't have the bonding in place to cover that kind of tailings and storage facility to store all of that waste for a long period of time, because there is none, as far as I could tell. I looked today pretty carefully and I can't tell. So this is the last point I want to make about money and bonding, and then we can go on, and I'm going to yield to if there are other speakers or questions or anything like that. This is what I can tell is the responsibility of DMME. They'll issue a permit for operating, and they will issue a permit for the tailings facility, and they will issue a bond. They have to post a bond. That is, the operator will. The bond will only cover the reclamation. Reclamation, as you guys know, is just glorified dirt moving around. You recontour a slope, you plant some grass, and then you hopefully, if they do this best, they backfill, they dump the tailings back into the big hole they just created. That's actually one of the better practices. But the bonding only covers the recontouring of the slope and planting the grass, and it's only $3,000 an acre. It's only $3,000 an acre. So that's really just like a bulldozer and some seeds. What I care about is, what do you do with the heavy metal toxic waste stuff? The extra 20 tons that doesn't go into the gold ring, right? That part you need a bond for, and you need long-term treatment facilities, and you need money to pay for those over a long period of time. And as far as I can tell, all DMME says is $3,000 an acre. And when I say $3,000, it's a corporate surety, which means, trust me, I got it. They just say to the operator, they got it. So my hope is that the Virginia legislature is going to take a look at some of these issues that come up with the DEQ permitting and the DMME permitting, and how gold mining is more like uranium mining than it is like coal mining. And if the legislature will connect that, then hopefully we could either get some of these regulatory issues dealt with, or even perhaps place a moratorium on this practice, which I'm hoping will be a good segue to talking about the moratorium, the action item, right, Stephanie? Taking on the Virginia legislature and see if we can have some action there. Otherwise, I yield the floor back to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, do you mind if I just ask you a couple of really quick questions? Because you mentioned the bonding, and I have heard a lot of things about that, and I'm curious if you can speak to how common it is for mining companies to go bankrupt or to just leave and not take care of it. Is that, you're nodding your head? Okay, so what I've heard is true.
Yes, so there was a relatively recent example of this in the state of Montana, and I think the 1990s, an operation called the Pegasus Gold Mine went belly up after they created a huge mess, left the state, and left the taxpayers with the bill. As a result of that, the legislature got together the very next session and actually passed strong legislation that forbade that kind of activity, as well as included better bonding to prevent that kind of thing from happening. Colorado has also passed a law that effectively prevents water mines that will create water treatment in perpetuity. When you this water problem lasts forever. There are mines from the ancient the Holy Roman Empire that are still polluting parts of that place today, because you can't stop it once it starts. And so you need to be able to prepare for that in especially wet areas where it rains, or where there's the James River watershed, or where there are hurricanes. because you want to be able to account for all of the impacts that may come down hundreds of years down the road, where the water is still seeping through those huge tailing stacks that you created. You know what I mean? So that needs to be accounted for, and someone's going to have to pay for that. And I'm hoping that the operator is going to post a bonds to be able to do that. And that's why I've been harping on it so much, because like I said, gold mining, more like uranium mining than it's like coal.
Well, and how do you post a bond that's for something that's in perpetuity?
Ah, yeah. Well, great question. So the federal government, the Environmental Protection Agency, during the waning days of the Obama administration, through section one, this is just a little bit wonky, 108B of CERCLA, which is the Superfund law. You guys know the Superfund law has a provision which actually allowed for this to happen. Long-term financial assurances for hard rock mining operations. And so, yes, there are various financial mechanisms that can create a long-term bond for this. Unfortunately, that rule was undone by the current administration, but hopefully we can revive that again. And so my point is that there are actual financial mechanisms available to cover long-term events that are longer than the financial system has actually ever even existed.
And so it's for the treatment of the water. Like, does that water ever become usable again, or is it just keeping it, what is that?
Yes, so the purpose of the bond would be to build and operate a water treatment facility that will need to last forever. In many cases, not effectively forever. And what we see in the West is that this is hundreds of years usually. And then yes, it is technically possible, right, to take the arsenic out of the water. That's what they have to do. And then you discharge it to a stream, and you get a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES, permit to do that. And that's what they do. They have to build water treatment to be able to discharge to the Smith Creek or Sycamore Creek or wherever it's going to be.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I have two more questions for you. One is that one of the things that the exploration company that's here has mentioned is that there are brownfields, which are the old mines that were from the 1800s. Do you know anything about what other kinds of dangers there are from trying to reopen that? Is there are there leftover chemicals from that period, or
from remining brownfield areas? Yeah. So if I were a miner, that might not be a bad place to go, because there are already a lot of heavy metals there, right? When it comes to brownfields, that's complicated because that can be more of a site-by-site basis. So if it's something that's already in the Superfund program, then then I don't know. Then it's complicated, because you want to be able to ideally have someone who's a responsible party who's actually doing this. But sometimes you can get into an agreement with somebody who's purportedly going to clean up a brownfield. And the purpose of is to not just make it better than it was before, but then for them to also to harvest minerals from that. So that sometimes can happen too. I haven't heard that here. Wasn't aware that Aston Bay was thinking about that. I knew that they were poking around the pyrite gold area and this quartz area too.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they have talked about on their website is they're interested in the brownfields, of which there are several around here.
Stephanie, actually, if you don't mind, can I ask you a question? Have Aston Bay ever operated a mine?
To my knowledge, no. We being my husband and I have done just some sleuthing on the internet and found that the CEO of Aston Bay has been with other companies and moved about, but Aston Bay itself does not seem to be very historical in any of its doings. So
thank you. That's interesting to me. Just sort of in my experience doing this is that all of these mining folks, is a small community of folks who are mining folks, and they often hop on boards of different companies all the time. And it wouldn't shock me if Aston Bay, never heard of them, is not a mining company, but really an exploration company.
They
And-
are.
Okay.
Mhm.
Their purpose, therefore, is not actually to mine. Their purpose is to tell you, Eureka, we found it, and then sell to the highest bidder to an operator. Is that the idea?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Okay.
Which, we have no idea who that would be. So, and down in North Carolina, it's Oceana, I believe, but we don't know if there's any interest yet or anything like that. So, well, thank you so much, Aaron. That was extremely helpful. And now we're going to move to a little bit more hopeful part of the evening. And we do have a special guest here, and that is Delegate Elizabeth Guzman. And I think you're here. Are you here? Maybe? Does anybody, Ben, you were letting people in. Do you know if she's here?
No, she has not arrived just yet. Let's hope that she's able to join us shortly.
Okay, well then I'm gonna kick it over to.
I believe a member of her staff is, but we'll see.
Oh, okay. He says he's texting her now.
Wonderful.
I will then kick it over to Stacy Lovelace, who is written. She was at the beginning of the writing of the legislation that we are going to talk about. She has done some really great work for us and put together a lot of really great, just the whole legislation that she wrote is just phenomenal. So, Stacy, what can you tell us?
Thanks, Stephanie. So I'll give a brief overview of the legislation. I'm going to share my screen with an action guide we've put together as well, and I'm going to put that link in the chat in case folks would like to see it. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. So here's an action page we've put together for folks to take action on this issue. Here's a brief overview. We're excited to announce that we are going to have some legislation on gold mining coming this session starting tomorrow. The bill will essentially create a moratorium on mining companies receiving permits to gold mine commercially in Virginia until a study is done to see what exactly will happen to the air and water and public health for the nearby communities that would be impacted by these mines, and then ultimately determine whether that should be allowed in Virginia or not. So we urge folks to reach out to their delegates and urge them to support this legislation from Delegate Guzman. We have a link here in our action guide in case you need to find your legislators' contact information. We provided a sample script as well. And we have a few resources that you can share with your legislators as well to bring them more up to speed on the topic. We have a short informational video, a one-pager on the legislation, and then a great map that shows the drilling areas in Buckingham. And it also shows like how it's right near where the ACP came through as well, and just impacted areas. It does a great job of showing where we'll be impacted. We also are going to update this guide regularly so that anytime the bill status changes, we can put targets here, where it is in the process, whether it's in committee or on the floor. So you can check back here regularly to see new actions to take to help get this bill passed. We also encourage folks to sign up for updates from Friends of Buckingham to keep informed on any future actions around gold mining. We provided a link here to sign up for Friends of Buckingham's newsletter, and you can also follow them on Facebook. We've got a link there. And a couple other actions you can take. You can share the informational video that you saw tonight with your networks, and also please share this action document widely so other folks can get involved and have the opportunity to take action as well. And you can write letters to the editor about the issue to keep the more general public informed. And we've provided a guide for writing letters to the editor here. Really important, if you do hear back from your legislators, please let us know of any responses. We'd love to hear any feedback from you. And any questions you have, feel free to reach out anytime as well. I've got some contact information for myself here in the guide. And that pretty much wraps up our action portion of the evening. And I'll pass back to Stephanie.
Thank you, Stacy. And now I do have the honor of introducing Delegate Guzman. Thank you for joining us. And do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about why you agreed to sponsor this bill for us?
Sure. Thank you so much. Hello, friends of Buckingham. Thank you so much for having me. I am Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, and I proudly represent the 31st District in the House of Delegates, which includes parts of Prince William and Fauquier counties. I'm a social worker, a public administrator, a proud union sister, and a fighter for working people, progressive causes, and marginalized communities. I'm fired up today to be fighting with you against this environmental injustice of potential gold mining in your community. To say that you got the attention of the environmental justice community nationwide is to put it lightly. I wanted to commend you on your fight against the Atlantic Coast pipelines, and on your huge win for your community. You won. You shut down one of the largest pipeline projects in the United States, and now you have been forced to fight yet another battle. And I know it must feel like there's no rest for you, but that it never stops, that you are always fighting, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. And that is the case for so many who are on the right side of history. And I'm so sorry that this is the case for you. I was asked tonight to speak about why I sponsored this bill. And I wanted to share with you that I have a deep passion for environmental justice, as I have for brown children to whom I want to leave a better world. My son, Carlos, inspired me in 2018 to run a bill to ban plastic bags. He joined a campaign to save the turtles when he was 11 years old. My children are why I co-founded the Virginia Green New Deal and why I ran a bill to study and create recommendations for regulating PFAS in our water. My children are why I am running a resolution declaring that there is a climate emergency, but I'm not just fighting for my children. I'm fighting for your children too. And that is why I'm introducing this gold mining bill. But the biggest reason I'm running this bill is because of you here in this Zoom tonight. I want to take a moment to thank Haiti for reaching out to my office and each one of you. At the end of the day, the reason I'm carrying this bill is because you guys contacted my office and asked for my support. It was your voices and your outreach that compelled me to work on this legislation to hit the pause button on gold mining in Virginia until we can fully study its environmental impact. Your voices make the change, and your voices compel me to take on this fight with you. And after all you accomplish, many people who would have checked out, many people would have said, I'm tired, I'm done, but you are doing the work even after winning your last fight. And that is why I'm running this bill, and that's why I'm here with you tonight. And I wanted you to know that I'm with you 100%, and that together we will stand as a multiracial coalition to put a stand up to environmental justice. My LA Chris has been working closely with the League of Conservation Voters and your gold mining committee to get this legislation in its best form before session starts. I believe we have landed on a final draft that is currently being reviewed by the leadership of my caucus before I introduce it. The 2021 session starts tomorrow, and I'm eager to bring this bill to committee and see it all the way to the governor's desk. Thank you. I look forward to working with you, and let's get it done. Our fight once again starts tomorrow, but we are not giving up. We're gonna continue to fight until we get it done. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are so honored that you're here with us tonight and that you are there for us at the General Assembly. It's so exciting, and we just appreciate it so much. So thank you. If anybody here has questions, now's the time to put them in the chat box. We've got just about 6 minutes left. I think we could probably direct some questions at Aaron if you've got those, or I don't know if Delegate Guzman is willing to take questions. Yeah, no.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. All right, we will see what we got in here. I think I saw one question. We'll have to scroll up here.
Stephanie?
Yes.
I see a question about co-sponsoring, asking legislators to co-sponsor Delegate Guzman's bill. Is that correct?
Yeah, Delegate Guzman, can you tell us, is it important to ask other legislators to co-sponsor?
Absolutely. So what we're gonna do right now, you won't be able to see the bill on LIS because as I was telling with you earlier, this bill won't be live until 10 a.m. tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll have a number, and once we have it ready and it's assigned to a committee, we're gonna start sending it out to all the legislators so they could co-sponsor the bill. How that helps, when you go with the amount of supports, those co-sponsors are equal votes, right? So if we get as co-sponsors the people who belong to those subcommittee and full committee, that is telling us that they are ready to support this cause. So it's going to be a smooth transition to get it out of subcommittee and then full committee. So we could, I believe, when I make my case for this bill, I asked to be docketed to the Committee of Natural Resources. So I hope it goes there. When we were strategizing for this upcoming legislative session, that's what I asked for. But if not, it doesn't go there. Usually studies could go to the Committee of Rules on Studies, but we don't know. That's what I asked. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It's a short session, so we don't know how many bills the the Committee on Natural Resources and Chesapeake Bay has to listen. So if that doesn't happen, it's gonna go to rules. So, but regardless, we are 55 members and I would like to get each member in the House on board. And let's start also asking senators, because once it comes out of the House and it goes to the Senate, it's important that we are already sharing this priority with the senators. So by the time it goes to their committee as well, they are ready to cast their vote.
Okay, thank you. That was really great information.
Yeah.
And as Stacy said, just a reminder, we will have all of that information on that action page. And I
Stephanie?
think, yes.
There's, I see a question here about, probably Aaron would be the one to ask this of. Could a spill like the 2015 King gold mine disaster occur in Virginia if this industry is permitted? Is Aaron still with us?
Hello, Hahnemann. This is
Hi.
Aaron. Can you hear me? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. This is Aaron. And on August 5th, 2015, there was a disaster while EPA and some contractors were trying to clean up an abandoned not old mine in around the Durango area of Colorado that spilled about 3 million gallons of toxic orange mine waste into the Animas River. Yes, my real worry is that when it comes to that, not just the digging of the open pit will create water quality problems, but as we were saying, the storing of the waste and the long-term treatment problems. If those fail, that's when Gold King-like accidents happen, when the water treatment system fails because it's not, which happens all the time, except usually just slower. So I'm sorry, the finer point I just wanted to put on that is with Gold King, the reason why EPA was there in the first place is that it was polluting the Animas River, just a lot slower. And that pollution is really hard to prevent unless you're trying to fix it permanently for a long, long period of time. And that's what the Commonwealth of Virginia is going to really have to think about, is long-term bonding. Again, gold mining is more like uranium mining than it is like coal mining.
Thank you. I see a question from Julie, who asks, how will she keep track of what's going on in her area, which is the Culpeper, and I never get the pronunciation right, Fauquier?
Fauquier.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, I think the best place is, for now at least, is Friends of Buckingham. They are updating their website pretty regularly with all of the information that we have. Right now, we only know of a few places where active exploration is happening. But the hope is that this bill gets passed and then there will be a moratorium on gold mining. So that would put it for at least a few years that you would be safe. You wouldn't need to be checking anybody's website because you'll know that there won't be any gold mining.
This might be another question for Aaron. Irene says that Virginia doesn't have the required sufficient bonding. And Mary says that the West Virginia coal mining reclamation bond system is on the brink of collapse. Is that something we should expect, Aaron?
Oh, thank you, Hanuman. This is Aaron again. Yeah, I was mostly concerned about the bonding issue because the Commonwealth's bonds speak to reclamation, about what we said that was the glorified dirt moving around, recontouring slopes and replanting grass. The bonds do not deal with the storage of the waste, the tailings facility. And that's where you really need the long-term bonds to be adequate there. That's why when you see so one other thing that's super important is that with coal mining, you have a independent dedicated funding source that is for reclamation. They pay, at least on the federal level, I don't know about in the Commonwealth, but on the federal level, Virginia, Commonwealth, and in the West Virginia too, the coal miners pay a tax on the waste that goes into a special reclamation fund. That does not happen for gold or silver or copper, at least for federal minerals. And I don't know if that, and I don't think that the bonds for the for gold mining in the Commonwealth are enough, because I think they only just cover the reclamation, not the long-term storage you need to think about.
Thank you, Aaron. It is now 7:02. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Again, this was recorded, so we will have the link for it probably added to that action page. And I'm going to right now share a screen with some contact information. So if you need anything, you can, as soon as it shares, I think it's sharing. Somebody give me a thumbs up.
All good.
Okay, thank you. So you can see this action page. There's a link there. Hopefully it's short enough for you to write down. There's the Friends of Buckingham contact information, and then some direct contact information for Chad and Hanuman, who are both with Friends of Buckingham and who are working tirelessly along with several other people to make sure that we stay ahead of this thing and keep gold mining out of our backyards. So thank you all so much for joining us. And yeah, just keep in touch. Let us know what's going on for you guys too.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks, everyone. I hope you learned something. Stick with us.
Stephanie, can you send the link to the video?
The longer video that we watched tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put that on the action page as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep.
We do want to update that a little more, but anyway, you can you can take what we've got so far.
Yeah, we'll put the updated link on it.
Yeah, thanks again to Jeff and Nanda Kamen for putting together the video, and Paul Barlow for the pictures that he took and going to Kershaw, South Carolina, the Hale Mine.
Yeah, and again, thank you, Delegate Guzman. I know you and I had not talked yet, but I am just so excited to see you here and to see how excited you are about working with us. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, and look forward to working with you. You know, the session is gonna start tomorrow and it's gonna be very fast. So we have to get to work as soon as we get a bill number. Our organizing needs to get started. So I'm excited.
Yeah, good. I hope you get some good sleep tonight before you jump into the quick session.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.